Welcome to the Chronic Health Collective show, where we empower you to transform every area of your life. We gathered the best coaches and experts in the world to bring you weekly insights that's going to elevate your physical, your mental, and your spiritual well-being. Whether you're looking to boost your energy, heal your relationships, or live a more productive, balanced life, we're here to guide you every step of the way. And today's guest, our Chronic Health Collective coach, is, hold on here, where are we? Kristy Boyd Johnson. Hi, Kristy. How are you?
I'm good, Andy. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. So Kristy has 30 years of educational warfare under her belt. She is a part seasoned educator, a part system disrupting maverick. She survived the educational trenches as both a student and a teacher and emerged not just battle tested, but ready to revolutionize learning. And her tech skills, let's just say she's more likely to accidentally delete an email than hack a mainframe. But what she lacks in digital prowess, she makes up with an ironclad commitment to transforming education from a soul-crushing assembly line to a vibrant, life-affirming journey. Welcome to the show, Kristy. We would love to hear what you have to share with us today.
Oh, thanks, Andy. It's always fun to come on the collective and be a disruptor.
Exactly. On today's topic, our topic's called School Isn't Broken. It's working exactly the way it was meant to work. So, Kristy, why don't you share with us, you spent 30 years in the educational trenches. What is broken with the current system?
Well, you hear that a lot. You hear, oh, the school system, it's broken, and grousing about all the things that are wrong and everything. And it just came to me that it's really not broken. It's doing exactly what it's intended to do. It's a sit down, shut up, do what you're told model that is designed for one thing only, and that is to force kids to be trained to grow up in this rigidly controlled day where it's just like working in a cubicle in a business. Like, if you think they come to school at a specific time, you go to work at a specific time. You work until your morning recess of 15 minutes. You work until your morning coffee break of 15 minutes. Then you work again until your lunch. You work again until your lunch. Then you have your little lunch break. Then you work again until, usually with school, it's the afternoon is a little shorter. There's a little, because they are kids, it's a little shorter and it's a little more activity, but it's still the same model with coffee break, and then you get released to go home. And and it's very rigid. And while you're there, you are quiet. You do obey the rules. You line up for everything you do. You don't talk back. You don't ask questions unless the teacher asks you a question. And God forbid you would ask an insightful question and start a dialogue.
Not trying to get political, all right? But it really sounds like the school system, and I got schooled in Canada. Minna got schooled in Hong Kong, and schooling systems were very different in Hong Kong. Canada, things are probably not as good as they used to be, but yeah, definitely, it sounds definitely more rigid, definitely more prone to train children to be worker bees. Is that sort of a correct assumption?
Absolutely. And then it gets worse because, they took away systematically with the advent of new innovative curriculums.
Correct.
They literally stripped kids of the tools they need to read and do math effectively. So in the 90s, they implemented, and I am going to call this out because I hated it. This whole language approach, which was essentially look at a word and guess what it is.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
okay, you got on a bell and a normal bell curve, you've got these kids at this one end that are going to read no matter what the school does to them, no matter what. They are probably already reading when they go to school. I actually was one of those kids.
Correct.
I was fortunate. I had a kindergarten teacher who left me alone and let me read when she was teaching the other kids. I got lucky when I was 5. But and there are those kids, but they're relatively few compared to everyone else. And then at the other end of the bell curve, you've got the kids who really struggle. They have dyslexia, they have ADD or any number of other learning challenges. And they need specific tools to help them. And then there's everything in between. So the biggest reason we have so many behavior problems is because the kids are rebelling against this rigidly controlled thing where they're told if they can't do it, they're wrong. But they're not wrong. They're not being given the information. That would be like me if I was saying, okay, here, take this nail and this hammer and this piece of wood, Andy, and I want you to take this nail and pound it into that wood and pound that nail in, okay? And you take it, and then I say, oh, by the way, you can't use the hammer. Well, kids, they don't know that hammer is the essential tool they need. They try and then they cry and they can't do it, and then they're blamed. Well, why can't you do it? Well, there must be something wrong with you.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not going to dive into the whole learning disabilities. That's something we should talk about in another episode. I think that would be interesting because growing up, we never had those issues, right? You may have the dumb wise ass kid, but he chose to be a dumb wise ass. It wasn't because he had learning disabilities, right?
Yeah.
Different topic, different day. But moving forward, you're talking about they took away tools that are crucial for us for learning.
Yes.
And I know you want to share 2 tools they took away. What are the 2 crucial tools that children no longer have to grow and to learn more on for themselves? Because I think that's very important, reading, right?
The number 1 is reading. Reading is the absolute most foundational skill you can have. There is nothing you don't need reading for. Nothing. In order to get a driver's license, you have to be able to read the book, and pass the test. So there's nothing you don't need reading for. But here, let me give you an example. So after they took away all the tools, which is like they hold up a picture of a tree with the word tree under it, and the kids would say tree. Why? Because they're looking at the tree.
Correct.
And then they hold up a picture of a letter number 3 with the word 3 under it, and the kids would say 3 because they're looking at the picture. But then they take away the picture and hold up the words, and the kids can't read the words because they were not taught. The only difference between those 2 words is that there's an H. Correct. Well, if the kids are taught that TH is a different, and I'm going to use a teacher word here, phonogram, which a lot of teachers don't even know this because if they're young, they didn't learn it either. Yeah. And phonogram is literally the sound that the symbol makes. The letter itself is the symbol, the one you look at. The sound it makes is how we speak and read. Okay. So they're taking away the connection between what it looks like and how it sounds. How are they supposed to read it? So let me show you an example, okay? Then they started bringing back phonics because, we have to have phonics, but it's not because this is what happens. So I'm old school. I am not a techie, so I'm going old. So we're learning the short vowel A, a, and this word is pan, okay? Pan. And then they graduate. They all get the short sound. Short sound's pretty easy. Then we graduate to the long sound. That's also easy. It's just what the letter's name, right? A. Yeah. Like in pain. Okay. And then we learn silent E makes the vowel say its name. That's all good, okay? Yeah. But what they don't teach them is what I call the weird ones. Okay. There are specific sounds that the vowels are the key, that they make that they don't teach them. They teach everything as a sight word. Okay. So want is a sight word, but it isn't a sight word because is the third vowel sound of A.
Okay.
So now this is phonetic. Want. It is a phonetic word.
Yes.
And then the fourth sound is ah. And I know that there are regional dialects where they can't hear the difference between ah and ah. But I am not one of them, and I can hear it, and I get so I exaggerate it a lot to help with that. But the word, like for example, in the word talk or walk, that's the fourth sound.
Correct.
And then to add insult to injury, there's a silent letter in there. Correct. So they need to teach them, like, how do those silent letters come about and why are they there and stuff like that.
Well, they don't teach that anymore.
No, they don't. They don't. And then when the kids struggle, they can read cat and long vowels, they get pretty solid, but that's only takes them to a certain level because they don't get to the weird stuff. And English is a weird language. Correct. It draws with the Greek and Latin roots, but it draws from German, Spanish, French, Italian, Greek. It draws from all these different languages. So, you get a language like Spanish that is totally phonetic. If you know the alphabet, you can, even if you don't know what the word is, you can say it, you can read it, but the English isn't like that.
Well, that is interesting because one of my friends in California, she was telling me that her son has reading disabilities. At least that's what the school is telling them. And the school is saying that he's lazy because he doesn't sound out the words. So he's actually she has to pay him to get to a speech therapist 2-3 times a week to learn how to speak English. I was thinking, how is that possible, right? Like everyone's speaking like,
yeah.
Now it makes sense.
Lazy. Lazy is a code word for we're doing our job. That kid is really messed up and thinks it's all their fault. And so does the parent, and so does the teacher.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. That's what they're saying, right? Like, my kid, he doesn't sound out the vowels because he just speaks it quickly. And I was saying, during the time when she told me that, I was like, I thought they taught that in school. Now it makes sense. They're not teaching it.
They don't. And another one of my big pet peeves is the schwa sound. So this word, is taught as a sight word, but it is not a sight word. It is a phonetic word. Mm-hmm. So I teach schwa. I teach the kids to mark the schwa vowel with a little hat. Okay. And this is all it is. All it is that it means the vowel says That's it. That's the whole thing. So they don't teach it anymore. Wow. So if you teach the kids TH, and in this case, TH can say one of two things. In this case, it says and then this is a schwa, they get it. They get it just like that. Correct. It is not a sight word. It is a phonetic word, and it's a total cop-out to say that all these words are sight words. They just have to memorize them. No, they really don't. You need to teach them. And the teachers, teachers cycle because, every generation, every year new teachers are coming in. They don't know. Correct. And they were victims. Young teachers today were victims of whole language in the 90s when they were kids. Correct. That makes sense. Yeah. So,
we talk about phonetics, with reading. I think the next big one is math. Right?
Yeah, math.
Math. In certain countries, they really stress on that. I know in Asian countries, math is number one thing they teach, and everything is math, right? If you think about it, everything is numbers.
Everything. Yes, right. Math is actually the universal language. Correct. Because math is always the same it doesn't matter what language you speak. Everybody understands the math, right? Right. So math, what they've done with math is they take these young children, very K1 grades K through 3 about, when they should be completely focused on learning, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, understanding their facts. A fact is if I say to you, what's 4 times 5, and you say 20, you know your facts. You know your multiplication facts. But the kids, they throw things at them. They're learning to add, and they're like, here's a square. Great. Teach them the shapes. Yeah. But don't say, what's the area of the square? Right. Because that's multiplying. It's not fair. And I have this example to show you what happens as the kids grow up and they can't do math and they're frustrated and they just pass them through anyway. And
correct.
I have this box of pancake mix.
Okay.
On the back, it gives directions for half, and whole. This box is a 16-ounce box, which means 16 ounces is 2 cups. 8 ounces to a cup, 2 cups, right?
Yeah.
So in the whole box part, if you use the whole thing, it tells you how many pancakes, it tells you full box, but then in the other directions, it says water's 2 cups, milk is 2/3 cups, and eggs is 2. And if you want to cut it in half, everything is cut in half except the pancake mix.
Okay.
Now, if it's a 16-ounce box and you're going to make half, how much are you going to use?
Correct.
8 ounces, 1 cup. It says 1 3/4 cup.
How is that possible?
Exactly. And so they don't even know that they messed up because they don't even understand the measurements. And so to get around it, they say full box for the full one, but that's not equal.
Correct.
That's only a 1/4 cup difference. So it's like, these are the kinds of things you start seeing out in the world that don't make any sense and unless you are paying attention, you don't override it and go, that's wrong. Correct. And so that's the reciprocal part of
That is crazy. That's crazy. So we know so far how it's broken.
Yes.
We're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to go through what they're trying to do to fix it. Imagine a life where every day is fueled by energy, vitality, and purpose. Where age is just a number and your best years are always ahead. Hi, I'm Andy Nam, certified functional nutrition longevity coach, best-selling author, and international speaker. After reversing my own chronic health struggles, I'm now on a mission to help you live longer, stronger, and of course to look younger. I combine biohacking, cutting-edge nutrition, and stem cell technology to unlock your body's full potential. So no matter where your starting point is, I'm going to guide you toward a chronically healthy life. Ready to reverse aging and take control of your future? Connect with me today. Your journey to longevity starts here.
A life empowered is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. Energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science. At longevity. At exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take control of your well-being from the inside out and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
Welcome back to Chronic Health Collective Show. So previously on the first section, Kristy was telling us how schools are deliberately teaching kids in a certain way how to learn. In the second segment, there's so much I want to learn from you, Kristy. This is like major aha moments for me. In this second segment, I want you to maybe go over, some people maybe see through what's going on with the public schools. What are they doing about it? Are there certain ways that they're trying to improve on this broken system?
Yes, there are. And I would like to add one thing here. Mm-hmm. It isn't it isn't the schools, it's above the schools. Because it comes down from above. The dictates come on from above and they have to comply.
Correct.
And so 99% of the teachers out there are genuine people who really, really care about the kids and are just as frustrated and upset and beaten up by the system as the kids are. And the parents don't know any better either. So they tend to blame teachers.
Correct.
But it's really, everybody's pointing fingers, but nobody's looking at the real problem. And the real problem is the system. The system is not broken. It needs to be completely dumped and started over as far as I can.
Completely overhauled.
Yes. But some of the things that seem that they try to promote as a fix, one of the things is charter schools are springing up everywhere.
Okay.
Charter schools in and of themselves are a good idea. They provide a good alternative. They're a free alternative to public education. They're generally much smaller classes. That's all good. Sometimes they do hybrid where the kids are in class maybe 2 or 3 days a week and then at home, and they do a lot more at home.
Okay.
But the problem is that is not essentially different from anything else. They still have the same curriculums, the same not curriculums posing as curriculums,
Gotcha.
the same ridiculousness, the same lack of actual knowledge of how to teach this stuff because the teachers aren't given the tools either. How are they supposed to know unless they're me and they buck the system and or someone like me who goes, this is not working and I'm going to go find something that does.
Right.
Things like that. They're essentially not different. They just give the kids pretty much those are basic, smaller classes, less time actually in that structured cubicle-like environment all day long. Okay. And some of the charter schools also have more of a focus on healthier eating and physical education, which is definitely a huge plus. And there are some that also have a nice focus on the arts for those kids that are artistic. They have art, they have music, they have dance, they have drama, and the kids get a lot more access to that. And that is the soul feeding, life affirming thing, the beautiful things in life that the kids need to have access to. They need a lot of physical movement, not just for their physical health, but actually physical movement is how we mentally process. So when we say, when you're trying to work out a problem, take a nice walk, go for a swim, do some yoga, just forget about it for a bit. And then the answers pop in.
Right.
That starts at birth. Right. That is not an adult thing. That is a human thing. And so kids, if you're teaching them a concept, then you have to let them play with it so that they can learn it.
That makes sense. I do want to, reinforce something you said there, because I think there are a lot of parents, you see this in news all the time is the school system's not doing everything. My kid's not getting the best education. So what you're saying is what the teachers are allowed to teach is not determined by the teachers. It's actually almost like spoon-fed that this is the agenda you need to teach.
It is absolutely. Okay. It is absolutely like that. Now teachers, everybody is a different person and everybody will teach it a different way.
Right.
I have a silly story to tell you guys. One of my dearest friends is now the principal of a Title I school in San Diego. Okay. And after, long story about my mom falling and becoming disabled and me having to take care of her and then going back as a sub because I couldn't do a full time anymore. Right. She found out I was coming back as a sub. And since I was a resource teacher and my expertise was with kids who do have learning differences and struggle, right. I was at her school a lot. But she said that when I met her, first time I ever met her, I subbed for her when she was teaching 6th grade math.
Okay.
And it happened to be a day when the whole lesson plan was, this is what they're learning. It's adding fractions. And they have a test tomorrow. Get them ready for the test. So I looked at the kids and I said, you guys, you want me to teach you the simple way to do this? And they're all, yeah. So I did. And she called me the next day. She goes, what did you do to my kids? I just got them ready for the test. And she goes, they scored higher than they've ever scored. And they scored higher than everybody else in 6th grade on that same test.
Wow. That's insane.
And then she had me start subbing for her the day before her test. Because it made her look good.
That's an amazing story, but it really shows you how kids can pick up things if they're taught in a different way, because they're smart, right? They just need to know how to learn the information, right?
Yes. And with math, they make it so complicated. I mean, how many parents have gone on about this new math? I don't understand it. Yeah, you don't understand. Nobody does. The teachers don't either. I don't. I look at it and I go, what the heck is this? I am not doing this. Except me, I'm a rebel. So I go, hey guys, we're not doing this. We're going to do it my way. Don't tell on me. And they don't. They would go, oh, Miss J, she's going to tell us something secret.
Well, it's interesting. So from my understanding, chartered schools, are charter schools still considered public? Like they don't have to pay to go to a chartered school?
Yeah, they're free. They're free. Yeah.
Okay.
And then of course now there's homeschooling's on the rise ever since the silly COVID shutdown. But there's a big heart in homeschooling because there's a lot of flexibility there.
Right.
Where you get into a problem is if you move school to your dining table and try to recreate a school day in your home, there's no difference there. You're going to fight with your kids. Right. It's going to be stressful in tension. The kids are going to be mad. And there's going to be a lot of problems there because they're already unhappy in that model.
Correct.
But the opportunity in homeschooling is to just throw that out the window and actually teach the kids what they need to know. Now, let me tell you, I'm going to blow your mind. Little kids who are just learning to read, they should not have any more than absolute max 2 hours a day of instruction.
Wow.
And that is not 2 hours in a row.
Mm-hmm.
That is little short increments because they're little.
Mm-hmm.
And then you let them play with it. Like for example, if you're teaching them a concept of adding, I used to play games with them. I would say, okay, I would bring things like bubble gum or candy or something. And I go, okay, now I have 5 jelly beans.
Yes.
And I want 8 jelly beans. How many jelly beans are you going to give me so that I have 8? And the kids would count the jelly beans and see that's play.
Mm-hmm.
They're learning adding. They're getting it. And then we connect it to the symbol, the actual written symbol for 1 and 3 and 5 and whatever. And but that play, they think they're playing a game. They are playing a game and they're connecting it. And then what always happened to me with every kid, regardless of whatever learning disability they claim to have, was that they started teaching me.
Correct.
They would go, and Miss J, now I'm stealing 6 of your jelly beans. Yeah. And so now how many jelly beans do you have left? And they'd start making the connection to subtraction without me teaching them.
Correct.
Oh, you're stealing my jelly beans? And I mean, it's a game. And then you play with them and they get it. And then you start showing them, okay, now when it's on paper, when we have to do some math for something in life, how are we going to write this? And then they connect it. And so then that's the beauty of homeschool is that you get to do that.
Correct.
And you get to explore. And then when the kids get older, so very young kids, the only thing you should even be bothering with when they're little is reading and math.
Correct.
And that's just the core phonics, reading, and the 4 basic processes of math. Anything else, it's PE, it's running, it's playing, it's physical, art, music, painting, drawing, whatever they like, and exploration like that. And then go.
No, I was saying that makes a lot of sense because I really like what you're talking about for the jelly beans and stuff like that. because now they're thinking about real life situations, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to, like you said, here's a number 3 drawn here, and it's all virtual. It's not real where they're engaging and engaging in real life. It's playing with the things in hand. I think
Yes.
that makes a very big difference in how we learn, because it's not just sight. We learn in so many ways. We got touch, we got hearing, from what you hear, what you see, and everything,
Yes.
from the touch. So I think that's actually very amazing.
And the missing element is there's so much emphasis on tech now.
Mhm.
And I admit, tech isn't my favorite thing, but the fact of the matter is kids don't need tech. They need connection, because they don't learn well punching an iPad.
Correct.
But when you sit with them and you connect and you do these silly things that seem silly, all of a sudden their brains just like start making the connections, and they love you. They want to tell you things, and they want to show you things, and they're learning so much.
Mhm.
And it's just a beautiful thing, and they're happy.
Correct.
And they're not bored, and they're not crying, and they're not fighting you, and you're having a nice relationship with your own children and not having to battle them to do their homework.
Correct.
And yeah, it just is a whole transformation.
That is so funny, because you just read my mind, because I was going to say, well, where does tech come into this whole situation? And one of the really unique perspectives that me and Minna noticed when we came to Texas is, like, we always joke, me and Minna, we love people watching, right? It's just how we engage with people and just observe. And coming from California, all of my California friends gave their kids an iPad and they do their own thing, right? Like, there's, everyone will be sitting down, they'll be eating, the adults will be talking, but the kids will be the iPad, iPhone, whatever. Like, there's no engagement. Right. And when we moved here 4 years to Texas, that's the first thing that we notice is kids are actually talking to their parents and their grandparents. Like, there is no I still see digital equipment. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying everyone's doing it, but I do notice that family time is a lot more important than just giving them a tech to zone out of. So, if you can quickly share, how you think tech is disrupting how kids learn.
Oh, it's, everybody, one of the big myths about school is that they get socialized. But if you got a classroom of 35 kids and they're all on their own iPad, how is that socialization? That's not socialization. That's the socialization that they mean, which is sit down, shut up, and do what you're told.
Right.
The socialization that we, parents and teachers, want are kids are getting along. They're talking to each other. They're learning to communicate with each other. They're learning not to just haul off and belt the kid next to them because they took their pencil or something. That's what real socialization is. It's the getting along thing. And tech is a great tool, but it is not a replacement. And the old joke about the television babysitter, park your kid in front of the TV and let the TV babysit them. It's like, boo-boo.
That is so true. And just moving forward as these kids get older, that's their form of communication is texting, email. Like you can tell they're talking to you here, being ding, right? But there's it's totally quiet. There's no focal conversation. And that is a big problem with socialization. And
it is.
I totally agree with you that tech does cause that problem.
Yeah. Although it's a great tool, and I do teach the kids how to use it, but only as a tool, not as a substitute for other things. So, yeah.
Well, we're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into the solutions that Barefoot Learning Club is going to give us for our kids to learn and grow. We'll be right back.
Welcome to a reimagined world where kids can't wait to go to school, beg for books to read. Math is an exciting game, and teachers get to love teaching again. Meet Kristy Boyd Johnson. She's been in the trenches and emerged with the keys to making education a fun, free, and inspiring experience. Email her at barefootlearningclub@gmail.com and chat with her one-on-one. Her philosophy? Foundation plus imagination equals genius.
What we believe to be true will be true for us, even if it's based on completely incorrect information. And we create our circumstances to support the belief systems that we carry. That might sound like bad news, like you're somehow at fault or to blame for the things about your life that aren't working. But let me share with you why that's not true. I'm Jackie Mott. I've always been fascinated by what makes people tick, and I've been working with people for well over a decade. What I can tell you is that those two statements have proven themselves to be true over and over again. The really great news is that we can change it. If you created your circumstances, you must also have the ability to create something different. You can overcome negative conditioning, self-image, limiting beliefs, and instead create healthy relationships, joy, and fulfillment, and that is my specialty. You can find me at jackiemott.com or on Facebook or YouTube. And if you're ready to start living with confidence, joy, healthy relationships, and excitement about your life and future, send me a message or an email and let's talk about it.
Welcome back to Chronic Health Collective Show. In the previous two segments, we talked about how the school system has been designed the way they are to train little worker bees. I would like to call them that. And then we talked about certain ways that they're trying to fix that with charter schools and homeschooling. Now I want to dig in with this third segment is, so what's the solution? Is there a solution to this whole conundrum?
It's absolutely yes. But really, you know what? It starts at a mental level for all of us who have been programmed that this is how school is. And you know, you can't really blame people because how long has the school system been in existence? Since what, the mid 1800s, maybe even earlier than that?
Right.
And at least in this country, I don't know about, you know, how long have we been sitting in little red schoolhouses and being lectured to by a teacher, you know?
Yeah.
and with some things, you know, you have to remember, first of all, the age of the child matters. You cannot put a 15-year-old with a 5-year-old and expect them to learn at the same rate or in the same way or anything else. You just can't do it. But we have to mentally shift into a more, really actually what it is a more relaxed way of thinking. We need to just chill out and stop forcing kids to be fit in a mold,
correct,
like everybody else, and B, have to go at this certain pace or else they're wrong.
Correct.
It's no. Every kid is going to learn at a different speed. You could have 3 kids in your home, and every single kid and every parent will be able to tell you what their strengths and weaknesses are.
Correct.
And they're gonna learn at a different pace. This kid is gonna look at math and go, "This is a snap." I actually taught a 6-year-old. 6. I was teaching him to read. That was my job. He resisted it. Because it was the phonics thing. It didn't make sense to him until I started teaching him the patterns. But his other tutor, his math tutor, was teaching him calculus. He was 6. He's a little Einstein. He had a math brain. He could see it. And he was, you know, he just took off with it. And so the parents were smart enough to realize, I mean, I can teach math, but calculus, I admit, that's a little beyond me. I'm not, if you can do calculus, you don't need me anymore. So, you know, that was smart of them to do that. But he fought me on the reading until he realized I was showing him the patterns, because the patterns, math is a pattern, and he sees in patterns. And so when he could connect the patterns in the reading, he started to progress.
Correct.
And that was an important thing for him. I had another student, it was the reverse. He was a high school student, hated math, absolutely detested it, just fought me every time, you know, he had to do anything. And one day came in to his home to tutor him that day, and he dragged me in the backyard to show me the gazebo he and his father had built over the weekend in their backyard.
I love it. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you know, it was really nice. It was very nice. And and he was telling me all about it, and I started questioning, well, what did you do? How did you figure this out? And he showed me their drawings and how they measured everything. And I went, so you're telling me all this time you can't do math and you do this? And he went, this is math? Yes. And after that, I could not get him to stop doing math. Math instantly became his favorite subject. He couldn't get enough of it.
That's amazing.
It's a perspective shift. And it's all about how kids now, even more than when you and I were young, kids now, there has to be a reason that they're doing it.
Correct.
It can't be because I told you. Or because that's how it's always been done. That doesn't fly. And it shouldn't fly. Because it's stupid.
Correct.
You know, if we want to raise innovative thinkers, we have to teach them to be innovative thinkers. And it starts with the way that we educate them. And the absolute best way is to let them be who they are and support them in the growth. With one caveat, reading and math have to be taught at the foundational level.
Correct.
But they have to be taught in a way that the kids make the connections and it works for them. So if you imagine you're teaching kids, you start them in kindergarten. I mean, kids who work with me, they start reading words on the first week.
Correct.
There's none of this coloring worksheets for a whole school year. That's just stupid and useless and a waste of time. The kids hate it. But, you know, by third grade, you have a group of kids that can do all of the 4 basic math processes and understand what they are. And they can read pretty much whatever. And at that point, they're just going to keep growing with their reading.
Correct.
You can do anything with them that you want. Why would you stick them in a classroom and force them to learn everything that's already been taught because that's how it's always been done?
Correct.
What if you have a kid? What if you have a kid who's like, you know, insanely interested, looking up at the stars, has a telescope, wants to learn astronomy? What, they can read and do math. Why wouldn't you let them explore that?
Correct.
You know, and then the next kid couldn't be bothered, but maybe they're looking at the ocean and they're going, this is just freaking the most, you can't get them off the beach. You can't get them out of the water. They're looking at all pictures of animals all the time, wanting to know why? Because if they're 8 and they want to learn oceanography, why not?
Correct. So, you know, it's interesting because you mentioned if they are learning your strategies through Barefoot Learning Club, they can more or less read anything by time they're in grade 3.
Absolutely.
And like you said, you know, there are books out there, everything's on there. You can literally, the world is your oyster at that point. Like you said, you can just read and understand on your own because now you can actually read.
Right.
And it's interesting. I think growing up, I didn't start reading books on my own. Okay. Part of grade 5, grade 6, because, you know, unless it was mandatory, you're not going to read it because it was just, to me, it was uninteresting. It was just too hard or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like if you have that ability to read everything and understand it, that is a game changer.
It is a game changer, and it's a game changer for everyone. It's at the very core level, it benefits the children immensely.
Correct.
Their parents, it benefits the whole family because there's a peacefulness in the family. Everyone's just relaxing into it. It benefits the teachers because the teachers are relaxing into it. And you know what? I have to say, teaching kids that are having a good time is so much fun. You just get to play with them. I mean, what a great job, right? And then if you're also being supported with the system, then you've got this golden thing. And then you're raising children who are thinkers. They know how to find out information they need. They know how to look beyond and expand ideas. You've got innovation coming out your ears, and everybody benefits. And I would like to say one thing you reminded me. There's one thing that gets dissed a lot is audiobooks.
Okay.
And I'm here to tell you, if you had been my child, which we're too close in age for that, but just pretend, and you had been struggling like that, I would have had you listening to audiobooks instead of trying to read them with your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why. Dyslexia is, in fact, a difficult thing to overcome. It is absolutely overcomable,
Correct.
but it is a struggle.
Correct.
And so audiobooks are a beautiful tool. I always tell people, and I will never stop telling people, don't force your child to read a book with their eyes if they're tired, cranky, or you suspect there might be a little dyslexia.
Correct.
Give them audiobooks. Let them lay on the floor and visualize, because they are hearing the language. They are learning vocabulary. They are learning comprehension.
Yeah.
They are sparking their imaginations. They're visualizing. It is all good.
Correct. Correct.
And that sparks that love of story. Story gets to us all. Story is powerful. And then, you would have loved reading more if you had been allowed to choose the audiobooks you wanted to listen to and the stories you wanted to hear.
That's interesting, because that just brought back some fond memories of elementary school. And I do want to ask if this still happens, because I don't know. Because in elementary school, I remember there was always like one section of the day, I don't even know what's called anymore now. Like basically, that the whole class goes to the library. And then the librarian reads a book, like storytelling. And I remember I always look forward to that, right? And it's true. While listening to it, you can actually visualize, like, James and the Peach or Giant Peach and stuff. Like, you can actually visualize that as he's reading the book, as opposed to a lot of people, when you're just reading a book, you're just reading words. You're not actually visualizing it. So I think what you said is very true. Depending on how people are, their brains could be wired very differently.
Yes. And if you're struggling to read the words, then that's true. That's always going to be at the forefront, and your comprehension is going to be reduced.
Correct.
So if you give, especially kids who are struggling a little bit, although when you give them the proper tools, they will not struggle like they do now, where they're just told they're stupid or they can't do it or they're deficient or something, which is totally wrong. Why would you destroy a child like that?
Correct.
But it allows that space to breathe. And quite frankly, I'm a very strong reader, but when I'm tired, I can't focus my eyes on the book. And I love to put on an audiobook and just lay back and just listen and let the story just wash over it. But that said, if I'm bored, I'll just turn it off and pick a different book.
True.
And kids too, not every kid, one kid is going to want to read mystery stories, and the next kid only wants to read sports stories, and they're going to be bored with me. So you have to let them pick. You have to let them pick what they want to read. And there's an interesting thing that happens with kids too. Right about middle school, right in that tween age, reader kids make a leap. They make a leap from children's books to adult books.
Okay.
And non-reader kids will not make that leap. And then there's that whole young adult category. Ironically, I made the leap. I remember reading Jaws when I was 12 years old. But now I love young adult books because the writers are so good.
Correct.
And they're so good at writing the stories, and the stories are really good. So it's okay if your kids do that and they make a leap like that. That's okay. That's totally normal.
That's great.
Yeah.
So moving forward a little bit, what will make you slightly different from, say, a charter school, or maybe even some people that's trying to do homeschooling? You mentioned that you shouldn't be sitting 6 hours a day trying to learn. It's important to get some activities in there. Like what type of activities would be fun, and why would you do that?
Well, really, a lot of it is determined by the kids.
Okay.
It can be as simple as okay, you have a phonics lesson for 15 minutes. Again, we're back to little kids now.
Yeah.
And then they get 15 minutes of play. It can be as simple as let them out in the backyard and just let them run around because they like it. And then when they come back, instead of going back into another lesson, do something fun, a fun game that's connected. So for example, there are phonics games where they're like memory, where you know how you turn the cards over and you have to find the matching card.
Yes.
And that's working on your visual memory and your perceptive, it's a lot, but they're also, I make the kids say the sounds when they turn over the cards to reinforce it, but it's still a game and they still laugh. And then I'm going to give parents a tip, cheat to lose occasionally. Cheat to lose. If you know where they all are, just kind of go, oh, where is it again? Because that makes it more fun for the kids.
I love it. I love it. That is so true, because like sometimes we get our competitive edge and we don't want to lose, right? So I think that's important. Let them win sometimes, right?
Yeah. I make a game out of the winning and losing, because think about that message. Exactly. I lose, and I'm like, congratulations, and I'm gonna, we have to have a rematch, and it's fun. Yes. It's not serious, and it's not, and it's that message. What is that modeling for the kids?
Exactly.
If you lose, who can, oh well, so do something else or do it again or whatever. It's no big deal. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, me and Minna, we're called the foolish couple.
Yeah.
So we always love to end with a quirky question. So, Kristy, this is your question today. If you can go back in time and give one piece of advice to your elementary school self, what would it be?
That's a great question. You know what? If I could go back and talk to my elementary school self, I would tell her, keep reading. And I think I would tell her to get over her shyness. I was a very shy kid and I didn't talk. And I think I would get over yourself and talk to people, because people listen to you and they hear, they kind of go with you, and you can have an influence and you can help people.
Correct.
I think I just tell myself to get over myself.
I love it, because it's like I said, everything you're teaching is helping kids grow. So, Kristy, you dropped so many truth bombs and brilliant ideas today. Thank you for shining a light on this topic. For anyone watching this show and want to dive deeper with Kristy's approach into learning, reach out to her at barefootlearningclub.com, because you're saying that's relaunching February 1st, correct?
Yes, the website is finally coming to life, and and there's going to be some real simple DIY ways you can teach phonics. I did videos teaching the phonics, so you can sit with your kid and I'll teach it. You just do it with them, and then you can do them as much as you want and until they get it. And interestingly, parents are going to find out that all the gaps that they have, they're going to fill in too. That's the bonus. Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning into this episode of the Chronic Health Collective. Visit us at chronichealthcollective.com to grab our free monthly magazine packed with advice from all our 13 coaches, including Kristy. And while you're there, set up your first discovery call with whichever coach is resonating with you in this point in time. Next week, we're thrilled to introducing my dear friend Sandra. Join us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. CST for more tips to up-level every aspect of your health and life. And if you missed an episode, catch up anytime at youtube.com/@Chronic Health Collective. Until next time, stay healthy, stay inspired, and always live a chronically healthy life. We'll see you all next week.
Ciao, everyone.